Wow, okay, that was a great track. Everybody, welcome to I Can't Produce a Podcast, episode number 5. And we got our boy, Monolith Zero or Nick S. I'm gonna fuck this up. Nick Escu. I can't fuck. I don't have it in front of me.
Eustaquio.
Eustaquio, I
But hey,
forgot. Yeah.
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So
I realized like halfway through the thing that I didn't mute my Discord. So I apologize if there's little keys in there. I apologize.
do you have a mechanical keyboard?
Yeah, I do.
I could.
It's stupid loud. My
Yeah.
other one's not working, so I got this one for my brother, and it's just loud. But thank you. I appreciate the um the comment on the track.
Yeah, I really liked it. You're the first non EDM artist I guess I've had on the podcast, and I I want to keep a lot of variety on this show because I mean
Mm.
production kind of goes through all genres. So I thought that was really the strings at the very end. Like I was already loving the song before that part came in, and that one really just got to me. It was dope.
Thank you, man. It's one of my favorite parts too. I really liked that song was something I wrote really fast, as I don't really write very often, but like um when I write, I usually just write in like one big spurt. So like it that one came out and like I had the idea for the riff and then I just kind of kept it in my back pocket and then the song came out in like 15 minutes. Like it's crazy how that shit works. And like the strings at the end, like I feel like it really hammers home that like the emotional content of it. So it's one of my favorite parts. I look forward to it every time.
Yeah, and you knew it was coming too. I didn't. That's pretty. I like the variety of different styles you've incorporated in your music. So you've always got or so we when I was making that music video for your last album, I think
Mm.
it was. Yeah, like you captured everything from like screamo to like progressive metal to I think you had like a tropical style in there. It's like you guys really explore different genres, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that in music.
Oh, thank you, man.
Um,
It's something that I get bored a lot. So like whatever I find is like interesting to me, and like it goes along with my mind's eye. Like last record that I did, like there was a lot of it that I just in my mind's eye, I felt like the beach or like I wanted to go on a vacation or like um so I tried my best to just articulate that. And so that popped out with a lot of like um tropical things and beach stuff and like it was really cool. I really enjoyed doing it and it's like it's fun to like kind of create that atmosphere in music and I like to chase that too.
I completely agree. I mean, I like I said, I focus on a lot of EDM music, and half of that I feel like is just atmosphere and kind of creating a
Mm.
different and yeah, I mean music is really powerful, and you can I mean just listening to that song, I was like, yeah, I am going on a vacation. What was the name of that track? Do you remember?
uh Mexico?
Oh, okay.
Does that one? There's also like the Joy of Life
Mm.
that was in there too. There was Embrace at the beginning and then Good Morning at the end, which are both like a little bit more zen, I guess. Not so tropical, but still like that kind of nature water type of thing.
So you said that you're working on like new styles for your next album. What are you trying to focus on now?
Um, well, this record coming up is stuff that the last record that I did was like a real like I needed to finish that like passion project type of thing. So I shelved a lot of music that I was planning on doing um, in to prioritize the Great Calm. So this time around, it's like a lot of stuff that I've had like in the bank, and then some new stuff like the song you just played. It was something brand new. But what I'm trying to do on this next record actually is just trying to incorporate colors actually. So not necessarily like environments, but more like attaching a color to a song, and like a color to a feeling. So like these songs range from everything like the screamo stuff. Like there is more. It's more like in line with the mainstream metal type of stuff, like modern metal. But I do everything on here from like reggaeton to uh, like the '80s type of arena rock to stuff with like that kind of sounds like it could be in a cartoon. Like
That's sick. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of all over the place, which is I guess like me. But I think like the theme for the record is like a rainbow, and then like so it kind of like just runs the whole gambit of anything that I can come up with. So it's a fun record like above all else, which is something that I don't know if I could say about the last one. The last one was a little bit more serious, but this one is like I love listening to it every single time.
Well, I'm excited for it to come out then, because I mean, all of those, like I said, I love all genres of music. So the fact that you're willing to explore that, I think is really cool. Who's in your band? Are you on what instruments are you playing when you're on the track?
Um, I write most of the stuff, but my bandmates was actually really proud of this, as they were all able to record this last record too. So I guess from guitar, my other guitarist is my friend Mike Rance. On bass is my friend Brandon Sussman. On drums is my buddy Ian Dubson, and then the newest addition is our keyboardist, or like Swiss Army knife, because he does everything, and his name is Dan DeGeorges.
Well, hell yeah, they're all I really like the drums in your songs. They really get to me. And the guitar work is also. I mean,
Yeah,
you
thank you.
shred, you shred. So, what where'd you get your name? I'm always usually curious about that because I spent a lot of unnecessary time on mine.
Yeah. So I wanted to call the band Monolith for the longest time, but everyone has something like everyone and their mothers has something called Monolith. So I was like, well, I needed to call it Monolith something, right? So what I was trying to do was come up with like different, like the original name for the band, because I've been working on this since I was like 2015, 2014. So the original name for the band was the Legion Zero, which
Hmm.
was really corny, and so I decided to not do that and go with something a little less corny. Um, but I'm a really big fan of Mass Effect, the video game series, and like my tag on everything is N7 stock. But there's a character in the game named Jack, and her um, code name, or like I guess like for her dossier, was like Subject Zero. So I was like, oh, I can call it Monolith Zero, and then be like a little cheeky reference to that too, because like I love Mass Effect so much. Like I have like the N7 on one of my guitars. Like I dying for the remaster. Um, but yeah, that's where it comes from. It's Monolith Zero, and like retroactively, it's come to mean like everything and nothing, right? So there's like the monolith, and then there's the zero, um, which I guess can represent like the yin and yang, I guess, or like I forget the name, like the duality of man or something like that. I don't remember. Um, but it's mainly to just kind of define like the human experience. Like you could take it as seriously as you want to, or you could just not take it seriously. Um, and yeah, that's it. Monolith Zero.
Oh, that's sick. I think it's clever, even more clever now. I've never played Mass Effect, but I know it's a great game just because all my friends love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like that, I spent more time playing Mass Effect in college than I did doing my college homework.
I think that's the
So
way to do it.
yeah, so I have a really strong attachment to that game, and it's still like left an impact on me to this day. Where like it's 2021 and I still get excited over it. So
Yeah. Uh, where'd you go to college?
I went to Stony Brook at first, but I ended up leaving Stony Brook. Went back to work because I didn't like school and I wasn't doing well anyway. But then I ended up going back to school at Five Towns College, which is like a music college
Okay.
here on Long Island, and I studied business there, and I guess it would be considered a minor in audio production.
Oh, that's awesome. So are you from New York?
Yeah, born and raised on Long Island, New York. I'm in Farmingdale.
Very cool.
Got an airport.
I've only been to New York once. I'm from DC originally, but I'm out here in Wisconsin for the time being.
What brings you out to Wisconsin?
I was in school for computer science, and I graduated last May. So
Oh, congratulations.
thanks. But yeah, I didn't like school and I didn't do well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can
I
relate
find
on
that.
that.
Oh, sorry.
No, no, I just said I can relate.
Yeah, I was gonna say I find that like as I was like a top student in like high school, like elementary school, whatever. Like, but I never liked to do any of the work. I was just kind of good at it. So like when it came to college and like now I have to apply myself, like I was not ready to apply myself, and I didn't care to do the work. So I originally went to school to do mechanical engineering, which like you needed to learn calculus, and I failed calculus or almost failed calculus in high school, and then I took it again and still didn't do well. And then I took it in college, and then I was like, well, I still don't get it, so maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah, I had a pretty similar experience. I started off with I think it was industrial engineering was my major. I don't remember. It was I switched between that and then like electrical engineering, and I just was so bad at everything. I like
Dude, it's
physics,
wild, man. It makes me
chemistry.
appreciate like how much work like engineers actually do, because like civil engineers and all, like they know so much, and I'm just like I can't even begin.
Well, the I felt the issue was like that just felt like high school 2.0 to me when it came to all the work. But it felt like it didn't really feel like an upgrade because I never found the drive to apply myself, and part of the reason is just because there's no like there wasn't I never saw like a practical end goal to all the shit that I was learning, like whether it be like chemistry or calculus. I mean, part of I kind of maintain that high school mentality of like I can just plug all these numbers into a computer and get the answer and move on.
Mm.
And so yeah, but I feel like with music, that's kind of like how I figured out how I learned was kind of applying myself to music and seeing like why I would actually care about the stuff that I'm learning about. And it's just like the tangible end to things is I feel like uh, they don't really give you in like your first years of college. So I feel like that's why I was so fucking terrible at like physics and chemistry and everything.
Yeah, I think too. Like I like to, um, because a lot of what I did in high school, like I love to do, like AutoCAD. I love to do like all of like the engineering type of programs that
Yeah,
we
me
use. But a
too.
lot of it I didn't realize was rooted in like just creating things. I like to like make different designs. Like I like to, um, like a monster truck with one of my teachers, and like we would like go through all the parts, and we would like design the parts, and then he would go and make the parts, and then that would go on the monster truck. And like I was really like ultimately creating above all else, and I didn't realize that until like you know maybe a year or two ago, where I was like, oh wait, that's why this didn't work, because I went into it expecting it to be like this design, this creative type of thing where I could like not necessarily express myself, but I could have more fun and make some mistakes, as opposed to being this like um really set in stone type of thing where there's like a lot of physics and calculus involved. And because that was the thing that I didn't like at all. I didn't like, I mean, I like physics, but like I didn't like calculus or math like at all. But that's all engineering is at the end of the day. So, when I went to college, and I was like expecting it to be like the design thing, like I was just like immediately just like nope, and I just like kind of shut it off like in my brain, and I
Yeah.
didn't care or pay attention to it. And then
Yeah,
did
it
terribly.
feels a lot more rigid when you're just out there studying calculus or physics, and they just kind of give you a word problem, and I feel like there is a way to approach it creatively, but a lot of times I don't really, care how far Johnny threw his watermelon. Uh,
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
so, like, did you feel more driven to study audio production, like in school, in like a structured way like that? Because that's something I kind of wish my school had offered. Because I started looking for it at the end of my college career. I was like, come on, give me something, and they didn't have like any music engineering or like music production like section of the or audio engineering. I was like pretty disappointed in that.
Actually, no, I didn't want to go to school for music production. I went back to school to just kind of like appease my parents in a way because they were all like, "Oh, well, my brother is a music teacher." For context, but my brother was at the time going to school to study music, but he is someone like he's been playing violin since he was like 7. Um, I just knew that I really loved music, and actually leaving Stony Brook and leaving the engineering program was what made me pick up music in general because I was like, well, now I have all this time, like I might as well learn how to play. Um, so also in context, I haven't been doing this for very long myself either. And like the Monolith Zero name has existed basically as long as I've been making music
Oh,
and playing. So yeah, I didn't want to go to school for audio production. I actually kind of wish I didn't go to school for audio production because then I wouldn't have all this debt.
true.
Um, but it was fun to go and like study things that I enjoyed. Like it was fun to like maybe not the projects, but just kind of be surrounded by people who were into the same things that I was. In lieu of being part of like the music scene or anything like that, like it was nice to do that. You know, like have a nerdy talk about compression or something like that. And
Yeah.
since I graduated, I find too that I don't really like I know what I learned, but I feel like I learn more about music production just kind of experimenting and doing things by myself. Like it's nice to know the fundamentals, but like the only thing I feel like was of value to me was the fact that I can go in there and just kind of enjoy myself for maybe 2 or 3 hours a day in the middle of all my other classes, and then have some work to work on at home too.
Yeah, yeah. I always felt like the best um, aspect of my college experience was the people that I met. It really wasn't
Hmm.
that so much. Everything I learned because yeah, you forget that shit.
Yeah,
Um,
I forget it real fast.
yeah. um, and yeah, no, I think being in that creative environment and that's really what I every time I kind of lose the drive for my music projects, I realize it's just because right now I'm just I don't really have a big music community because once the lockdown happened, I just really wasn't uh, like hanging out with the same group really. So
Yeah, I realized with the lockdown too, so many of the people that I interact with are part of the music scene around here. And I'm just like, damn, like I know I have my regular group of friends. Like I have some friends from college and like you all hang out and like we do some stuff, but like the people that I see on a regular basis, like people that like would be at shows or like would be in bands that you were playing with at a show or like the people that you would run into at, like the practice spaces or something like that. Like those are the people that I'd see all the time. And those are the people that I found that I actually miss the most. And I didn't realize that until like the lockdown happened. It's just like, damn, I really miss this. And I didn't appreciate it nearly enough when I was in it.
I yeah, no, once you don't realize what you got until it's gone.
Exactly.
That's yeah, I really felt the same way. I mean, I felt like just started getting my foot in the door in the music scene around here. Because I started teching for I guess one of the biggest EDM clubs. It's one of the smaller ones actually, but it is kind of just an EDM club. And I started doing lights there probably for about 6 months before lockdown happened, and so I was finally like getting chummy with everybody and like really excited about all the people I was meeting because I was meeting a lot of
Mhm.
DJs and getting to practice on stage after the show closed. So
Mhm.
I thought that was sick. But yeah, I definitely missed the music scene the absolute most. I mean, I went an entire year without festivals or concerts now, and I'm just dying inside.
Yeah, like one of the last things I did was to go to a concert. I went on like on leap year, so it was like the 29th, um, February 29th of last year, and then I it was like one of the most chaotic weekends that I've had. Um, but it was one of the last weekends before lockdown, and I went to go see. I'm a huge fan of Devin Townsend, and he was playing in Brooklyn. So I went to go see him, and then I like left at like midnight. I had to go to work at 5:30 in the morning. I worked till like 2 o'clock, and then I had to go straight to to load in for a show that I was playing like on that Sunday night. So like I had like a real like just in like deep weekend of music, and then like I was like, wow, this is gonna be more of like the norm for me. Like I was excited to do it. Like I was like I was happy with like I guess like the workload I guess on my body. But it felt good to be at like to be at a show and be involved with people and then like, you know, be able to play a show and then like I was like gonna do that more like throughout the year and then like now I can't.
Yeah, yeah. Now you can't. Hopefully things open up soon, and yeah, I mean, all my friends are really eager to get back to work too, and I mean, some of them are already working and like scheduling uh festivals and shit already. So I don't really, um, I'm sure concerts will be had this summer, and I'll probably go to one.
Yeah, I think they'll be had this summer. I know things in New York are opening up kind of soon too, but I think at like maybe a 20% cap or something like that.
Mm.
Um, so it'd be great for local shows because nobody goes to them. But um, I know for like larger, like the Yankees, I think that they're allowing 20% of the capacity for Yankee Stadium, which amounts to like 10,000 or 11,000 people, which I thought
Interesting.
was pretty impressive considering that it's like New York, I feel like has been one of the most stringent places when it comes to lockdown stuff or like just kind of following the actual like CDC guidelines. So I have hope for the summer. I think that it'll be really normal by the fall, but the summer I think we'll definitely see some shows, some socially distanced shows, and I think it depends too on like how many people get vaccinated in a particular area as well.
Yeah, no, I know socially distant shows are probably necessary, but you know, I want mosh pits, and I just got to be patient.
Mhm.
Not, um, yeah, no, I agree. What is it? My friend has been saying he said a phrase. He's like, we used to live like kings. We used to share drinks and not worry about where the other person had been. Um, so where I guess speaking of concerts, where do you have any like favorite shows that you've been to? Kind of like inspirations that really made you want to start a musical project. Do you have any like
Ah,
yeah, just favorite shows? Now that we're
I,
reminiscing.
dude, I'm gonna tell you about my first show. Because there used to be a venue. It sadly closed down because of the pandemic, but there was a venue around here called Revolution, and we played our first show in 2018 with a band called Tala, a couple other bands. Some of them don't aren't around anymore, but there's another band called like Burn Your Bridges. Um, but that show, we opened the show because we were brand new. But we played to like 60 or 70 people. Um, it was really like awesome to like have like feedback from people, and a lot of people like liked what we did, and it was like it was fun. Like it was super nerve wracking. Um,
Yeah.
but so the drummer for Tala, his name is Max Portnoy, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with drummers, but his dad is Mike Portnoy, and who's maybe the best drummer in the world. So there was a lot of people at that show because people know Mike and then people know Max,
Right.
and that show ended up being like one of the best shows I think I've ever been to, if not the best show, because there was just like the energy in there was like so palpable, like, and it ended up like it was not a packed house because that Revolution is like sneakily large place,
Yeah.
but it was pretty packed, and like there was so many people like from the scene, or like because it was Tala's first time coming to Long Island or like New York, and like again, everyone knows Mike, so they wanted to come see Max, and then Mike ended up being there because Mike is from maybe Long Beach or something like that. But there's a lot of like friends and family that were there for Max, and then like ended up meeting Mike Portnoy at the end of the night, and it was like really cool and inspiring to do that, and that remains I think my favorite show. But as far as like other artists and shit that I've been to, I can't like I saw Devin Townsend the last time that he was in Manhattan, which was in like 2016, and that was inspiring.
Who you said Devin Manhattan?
Seen Slipknot before. Devin Townsend, I saw him in Manhattan. It was like
Oh,
the
okay.
PlayStation Theater or something like that. But I don't know. Like I've seen Slipknot at Lamb of God, which was like maybe 2013 or 2014. And the singer of Lamb of God like did a front flip into the ocean because of the Jones Beach Theater, so like it's right on the water.
Oh, that's funny.
That was incredible. Um, yeah, I mean, like I've been to a handful of shows. I don't go to nearly enough shows as I would like, which is one of the things that I wanted to change about 2020 was that I was going to go to a bunch of different shows. But yeah, I think that like the single most inspirational show was the first show that we played, which I always think is like, damn, that's a really high bar to set.
Yeah. Um,
What about you?
sorry, my mic's a little. It was acting funny, so I got a little distracted. But yeah, so my favorite shows were the first show I ever really went to was this. It was this concert in DC called the DC 101 Chili Cook-Off, and it was.
Mm.
I think I saw Weezer. I was like 15. That was a great show. It was Weezer, Seether, Papa Roach. It was a pretty sick lineup. Who else was there? Middle Middle Class Rut, I think was one. Um, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. But it was, and then I went to those concerts 2 years in a row when I was 15, and then 16, and they were just always they always just had such great energy. I ended up seeing like Panic at the Disco, and just yeah. So those will always remain kind of like a staple. But I feel like the thing that actually made me want to be a musician was when I went to Big Dub Festival in Pennsylvania, and yeah, I guess I've been listening to a lot of EDM for, I mean, since high school, and there was just something about that creative space that made me think like, oh wow, this is, like it just made me value what musicians did a lot more. Even though, I knew I loved music, there was always kind of like this barrier for me, um, kind of not taking that career seriously or as something that is really important or contributing to the world or society. That was,
Mm.
how I felt about it at the time. So after that festival, though, I really, I thought like, wow, I'm a changed person. I feel like this is really important, and I wanna, explore this more because that was probably one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. So uh, but ever since then, I started just going to a lot more raves. But I feel like one of the last shows I went to that wasn't an EDM show was called Deer Tick. That was like 3 years ago. That was like a folk indie band that came around. And Madison actually has a really cool music scene. Like there's a surprising EDM scene around here. But I guess
Really?
yeah, it's like
Is that where the college is? Like,
yeah,
okay, okay.
it's just a college town, but it's also the capital of Wisconsin, so it's kind of funny.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there's also like just a huge there's like three venues all within a mile of each other, and for like a town that has a population of like 200, 300,000, I think that's pretty impressive.
That is pretty cool.
So there's yeah, and they all like the Majestic Theaters out here, and like they're kind of an older venue, so their sound system isn't that good for like club music, but they also host a bunch of different like local indie bands and rock bands. So there's no real cap on the genres that they'll put out. So
Mm.
I wanted to just kind of being around the scene more, just start hanging out at those places. So, but yep, then Corona hit. Uh, do you have any favorite? I mean, do you listen to music outside of? Yeah, I mean, do you listen to music regularly? Because I found that I kind of stopped recently, and I don't know why.
I don't find new music. I like
Gotcha.
rarely find new music. My bandmates are all into like finding like the underground stuff or like stuff that's like kind of on the verge of breaking out. But I'm like, I just kind of like the same old things. Like I really like Motorhead. I like Guns N' Roses or
Oh,
like
I
Green Day
love
and
Guns
stuff
N'
like that.
Roses.
Stuff I grew up on, man. Like, and I just don't really change because that's the stuff that I enjoy listening to. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna find anything else new. Nothing else really like tickles the urge, but like I or scratches the itch. That's what I'm going for. Not tickles the urge. That sounds a little dirty. But yeah, like I don't know. I really just like the same kind of stuff. And like pandemic too. It's like I just listen to the same things that I've been listening to. In fact, I went into finding more stuff from those times. Like I've been listening to a lot of Nelly. Um and I was really into like that early like 2000s, mid 2000s kind of like rap scene.
Yeah,
Because that was what I listened to then. I listened to like that and I listened to Green Day. That was it. Um but yeah, I mean I don't listen to like a ton of music. I usually listen to music like either my own or um I like ambient music a lot just because I like the feeling of music. I like because I have tinnitus, so it's like if I'd rather not listen to tinnitus, I'd rather have something playing. So like if I, you know, like I'll just put that stuff on in the background and just kind of like go about my day.
I think I have tinnitus too. I haven't gotten like actually diagnosed, but um, yeah, no, sometimes background noise is kind of necessary. If I don't, I'll get like really agitated and I don't know why, and I'm like, oh, it's because this music sucks.
No, I have like I haven't had like an exact diagnosis for my right ear, but it does have a bit of a dip in terms of just like hearing loss. Because
Yeah,
at Starbucks we wear headsets to like communicate with customers and stuff like that through the drive-through, and I always wear it on my right ear, and people just yell into it because they just yell into the speaker, and I find it hard to listen to when it's at a lower volume, so I've always kind of got it blasting. So I have a little bit of hearing loss in my right ear, which hasn't bothered me too much, but I know I gotta manage it.
yeah. Do you think that affects, or do you think that'll affect your mixing?
Um,
Like
yes and no, because I'm kind of I'm used to it now, and
yeah,
it hasn't made a super big difference in my mixes. Because generally, like if I do something on the left side, I'll probably do it on the right side too. And I am aware that I have the hearing loss. So if something's not loud enough on the right ear, I'm like, okay, well, it's probably a good volume. If it's not a good volume, I'll just put it in mono and I'll see how it is.
gotcha. Well, yeah, I one of my favorite music facts is the fact that Beethoven's music started getting really bass heavy towards the end of his like life, and it's because he
Hmm.
started getting hearing loss, and he just couldn't hear
Yeah,
like the
that makes
lower,
sense.
or he couldn't hear the higher tones, I think. Or no, he couldn't hear the lower tones, so he just started slamming on them so that he could like feel the vibrations.
Imagine if he had 808s.
Yeah.
He would have loved them.
Yeah, if only he knew, if only he was alive today. Um, I
So,
start. Oh no, go ahead, go ahead.
as I was going to say, I wanted to ask you though, in regards to mixing, because I when I went to school, I tried to work with a few people that were EDM, and that was fairly decent at mixing, and they wanted to like just like kind of show me like well, how they approach it. And so I'm curious because I know how I do it. I kind of like orchestrate my music, and it's not mixed in necessarily like the most like objectively great way,
Uh huh.
but it's something that I like. But I noticed that what they would do is they would like kind of segment it into like a high, mid, and low bus, and then kind of layer those on top, like and play with those like in different like I guess you could multi-band type of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a
but
lot
I
of
always found that
multi-band.
interesting, and I wanted to know if that was like something that is prevalent in EDM, or if that was something that was that this dude had kind of just come up with.
There's yeah, no, I think I can answer your question. So with my mixing, uh well, there for one, there's a lot of multi-band compression in EDM. I think it's because of how atmospheric and spatial a lot of times they'll try and make things. So EDM artists, like, they'll just layer things to high hell, and a lot of times they'll just want, and I know, you kind of want everything to shine through or complement the sounds, because I feel like, depending on what you're making, most of, and what kind of artist or EDM artist or producer you are, a lot of it is sound design, and or a lot of, or you're just layering things on top of each other. And the next I think angle I would say for that is, so I started DJing before I started producing any of my own music, to at least to get familiar with EDM. And
Mm-hmm.
on the DJ board, you are always like your three main tools are mids, or your highs, mids, and lows. So like you don't get a lot of precision when it comes to like how you want to yeah, like cut out the lows or which frequencies. It's like the bands are already set all per the controller, and like I said, you just don't have a lot of freedom with that. So I feel like you could probably translate that experience into music production, because it's just really familiar. And we do take advantage of, or when you're DJing, you have to take advantage of like those three spaces. So like if you want to mix in somebody's vocals, you need to get rid of the mids on somebody's on like a different track, and then you are probably throwing in a vocal that is taking up that space. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well?
No, that made sense. I'm thinking about music too, and I'm just thinking about because rock music is so there's a lot of noise in rock music. So I find that a lot of when you're mixing things like because we've been getting mixes back for our last record, and a lot of it is kind of like either capitalizing on, or like, I guess, yeah, like capitalizing on the noise that's there. Um, and so I find that like there's not a lot of room for stuff to breathe, which always kind of stinks. And how I approach music production is I'm always looking to get that kind of space in there, so that way to me it sounds like it is breathing, even though to someone it might just be like, oh, well, I can't hear this or this or this. I'm like, well, it in conjunction with everything else, like it feels like you're able to like exist in it instead of getting like slammed by it. Like I like to mix in this sort of like wall of sound type of thing. But traditionally wall of sound stuff is like, well, you just kind of like I said, you kind of get slammed by it and brick walled, and like there's so much coming at you all at the same time. But I tend to approach music in a way that's like I just kind of want you to be there, um, which is it both works for me, as I really like love to do that type of stuff, but it's sometimes strange to people because they're not like, well, I can't hear the guitars this well, and like I don't know, like I'm starting the sentence and I don't know where I want to finish it, but it
I feel like
rock it's noisy, man, and I hate how noisy it is.
do you like Dream Theater at all, or like kind of the, do you know?
Every my bandmates love Dream Theater. That's actually the Mike Portnoy's old band that he was in.
Oh,
He was the
okay.
drummer for that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I feel like, I mean, they progressive rock, I feel like, gets a little bit better at getting rid of the noise. Like so like Dream Theater will, or Liquid Tension Experiment is also like John Petrucci's one of his older bands. And
hmm
I always felt like the reason I was always so like, yeah, like a lot of metal music I feel like has a lot of noise. But that's so does a lot of EDM music. I feel like you can work with it. Like it's definitely a whole different vibe of its own. I think it can feel like really chaotic and energetic when it's done right and when you capitalize on it right. But I always felt like there was a way to do rock where you could kind of get rid of. I mean, a rock is really focused on the it most of the instruments fall within a very specific frequency range, and they all are usually fighting for space. And I feel like that's just historically, like, they didn't really have the tools to get to the much lower frequencies that I think not I mean, you have bass players obviously, but I found that with EDM, like, you just have a lot more freedom in your sounds to kind of just scratch those lower frequencies, and I think with that you can make a lot of space. So with rock music, I feel like a lot of that noise might just be coming from, like, there's a lot of instruments, like, traditionally that just interfere with each other.
Yeah, I think too. Like we're getting now to this point in production where it is really easy to like create that separation in music. Like, I've heard mixes from people like uh, Nolly, Adam Get Good is one of the best mixes I've ever heard at like just getting that separation in between, like just like from the drums and like just within the drums themselves and like the guitars and then the bass tone and like the singer on top of that. Like, so I think that now like that there's, and especially like he has his own, uh, I guess like drum sample company called Get Good Drums, and those are fucking amazing. Um, but I think that now we're kind of getting into this space where rock is able to like have, it's still like traditionally fundamentally going to be like clashing on the same things, but I don't I like, but at the same time like, I prefer the character of old stuff because it
Yeah,
has such a vibe to them that like new stuff it kind of sounds too clean to me. I don't know.
that makes sense. Well, I don't like pop music because it sounds too clean to me. Because okay, so when I hear like an Ariana Grande song or something like that on the radio, or like I have to listen to, like I was DJing at a local bar, so I had to like keep up with some of the pop music, and it's the thing that bothers me the most is it's not like I hate it, it's that I like it because it's just like very easy to listen to, and it's like pretty hypnotic in that way. And I'm like, and it's because everything sounds so clean and is like filtered 5 times over, and it doesn't sound like it has a lot of emotion, but it sounds so clean that I feel like it's trying to trick me into thinking it's good, and it's not.
Well, I found too that a lot of it is just like it's vocals, man. Just like the clarity of the vocals. Like someone like Ariana Grande too is like her last album I really liked. It was one of like my favorite albums for that came out last year. But like the amount of vocals that are in one of her songs is insane. And like I think that also like contributes to the clarity of it as well. It's like because it's so easy to connect with that thing that it just kind of it makes everything else kind of easier to listen to, even though maybe there's not that much stuff going on. But the amount of vocals makes it like in depth without getting in the way, and then like um, because it's easy to connect to that stuff, that like you're easy. I don't know. You're able to subconsciously be able to focus on the other bits more. And then just like from a mixing standpoint, like it is all like really just leveled nice. Like there isn't a lot of stuff that clashes. There isn't a lot of stuff that is like um
Would you
abrasive.
consider it like overproduced? Like, cause the vocals and the music alone, it's not like that really upsets me. It's like I feel like there's not when it's that hyper produced. I feel like there is an edge that gets a little lost.
Yeah, I think it's definitely overproduced, but at the same time, overproduced for us is not overproduced for most people.
True.
Because we are people who focus on production and like instruments and stuff like that. But the majority of people don't listen to that. Um, so I guess in that sense, it's not because actually think that her stuff is it's fairly accessible. Like there's not a lot of things that are going on. So like in terms of like the actual orchestration of things, it's not. But just like her vocals are those are things that are overproduced. Because I feel like if you can't replicate that in a live setting, too. Like she doesn't have background singers really, at least to my knowledge. So I think it's just like her and backing tracks, and then like the band plays whatever they play. And so I think like in that sense it's overproduced, but I don't think it's done in a bad way, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
think it's done to like enhance it, but yeah, vocals are just like they're super like, but the thing they're so well done though is the thing that always gets me. I'm like it's overproduced, but it's done in such a good way that I don't mind listening to it.
Right. Yeah. And vocals have always been a little bit of a mystery to me because I listen to a lot of instrumental music, and so then and I also never pay attention to the words. So
Mhm.
they were kind of like the last thing that I was like, oh shit, like damn, this is really in depth. Like I didn't realize how much went into this because I'd never listened to them.
Mhm.
Even with songs that I like, I always really liked instrumental music. So even my favorite songs that have words in them, they yeah, I just never heard them. So uh, yeah, I like what you said though when you said that you're kind of the vocals are orchestrated really well, and I think that's something to appreciate because I mean I love orchestral music, and I always love thinking about music production as like me being a conductor of an orchestra. So
Mhm.
I guess I can really appreciate the vocals in that way. But they, like I said, they just sound really clean, and uh, I really like their. Yeah, maybe I just like the underground feeling of something not being like made in a perfect studio or something.
Yeah. But I think that like my perspective on it has changed now recently too because like the last record that we did with a studio that's out here called Westfall Studios. And the guy who produced it with me, his name is Anthony Lapardo, and he does a lot of like pop production and whatever. They do a lot of metal and stuff like that. They had I guess like the most well known band to come out of that studio is a band called Moontooth, which is the mixer Ray's, that's his band. Um, but Anthony and I like we spent a lot of time on vocals, and not of it's something that have always been something that was very secondary to me because like I said like I guess I look at music in the same sense of you where it's like we're conducting like this orchestra. um so vocals to me have always been something that it's like oh it'll just like it'll be there but it's never going to be like a focus of my music. And then now I'm on the other side of the fence where I'm like well vocals have to be because vocals I think are my favorite part. um but how vocals interact with the music I always find is really really interesting because with vocals you have this sort of it's the human voice so you can do kind of whatever you want with it. And like if you're a good singer and you're able to like do the harmonies and things like that like you add so much more dimension to your music that I feel that it's so easy to connect to in that sense. Like regardless of how good the music is like if the singer is really good I find like that's what I notice first, and then the music kind of comes second. Um, Now there's music that I like really enjoy the instrumentals. Like I like to like Devin Townsend is a prog musician. Um, he did one album called Deconstruction, which is like the wackiest metal album I've ever heard. I love that record because there's like so much like the Dream Theatery type of stuff and like wankiness that goes on in that. I love that. But like there's so many vocals on that record that I didn't realize that like those are the things that are really, really that make it really wicked. Because if you didn't have the vocals in there, like contextually, it'd be a terrible album. It'd be really bad. But the vocals help make up for that, and like just different types of vocals, and like the choiry type of things, and then like the layered like men's vocals or women's vocals. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's really um like the acrobatics that are you can do with vocals to like add that like spice or dimension to your music to me I find insane. And I'm like kind of kicking myself now because I've been doing this for 7 years and I'm just realizing it like how much I enjoy vocals.
I completely understand that feeling. And the thing that really it was funny because in the back, yeah, vocals were definitely secondary to me too, but I always considered them like an instrument. But I didn't realize
Mm.
that I considered them an instrument. I just like I yeah, they just made up for a bunch of the music, and even in some of those old '70s rock tunes. Like, do you know who Rick Beato is?
Yeah.
So he when he breaks down the songs, like, why is this song great, and I didn't realize how much vocal processing actually went into those older songs.
Yeah, it's insane. And I've even like gone back and like listened to things that are like bands that I really enjoy. Like I love Avenged Sevenfold. I went back to listen to like Avenged Sevenfold vocal tracks to like kind of get an idea for like um how I want the vocals of this next record to be produced. And I'm like, damn, there are so many like different harmonies in here or like different textures, and I didn't even realize it because I've been listening to this stuff for most of my life now. That it's like it kind of it literally goes like ironically kind of goes without saying that it's like there's so much stuff in here that and it still manages to like focus on that one lead vocal and then the rest of them just kind of blend into the back and like help orchestrate and make this thing interesting.
Yeah, they really work with the other instruments that are in the mix, which and they complement those, and yeah, they are their own instrument, and for some reason, it's I guess it's easy for us to take them for granted. Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know why either. It's weird to me.
um, what was I had a I was gonna ask you a different question because oh yeah, so what is your musical background like? How long have you been playing guitar?
I've been playing guitar for well, I've been actively playing guitar since maybe 2014, like late 2014, early 2015. So I've been playing for like five, 5.5, 6 years now. Um, I played drums for a while. I played drums before I learned how to play guitar, which has benefited me greatly. But I don't really play them anymore. But I write a lot of them, so I'm like still kind of like mentally in tune, even though like physically I can't really do it that much. Um, and as far as singing goes, like I've been trying to learn how to sing for the better part of my life, and I've stunk at it up until this point. So, but yeah, I grew up playing. I started guitar when I was like 10, and I learned how to play a power chord and like an A chord, and like that was about it. And that was like good enough to play like a Green Day song. So like I stopped taking lessons, and I just like kind of dicked around in my room playing Green Day terribly. Um, and yeah, I didn't really take much uh, importance on guitar. Like I didn't prioritize it very much at all. It was something that I wanted to learn how to do. And actually, I was thinking about when we were talking about favorite concerts to take a step back. My the thing that got me going into music was a Green Day show. My first purchase as a human being that I can remember that I like saved up money for was Green Day's CD DVD called Bullet in a Bible, where they played like 100,000 people in England. And I had bought it over the American Idiot album because I would get more songs. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if I'm spending this amount of money, I want to get more value. So I got that. So it's because it had a DVD and then I had a CD and I had all these different types of songs. So uh, I had popped that in, and I remember like when American Idiot came on, and like they kind of panned over the crowd, and like there's like the four of them just kind of like rocking out, and I'm like, damn, I want to do that. So that was the thing that got me going, and like Green Day was the thing that like got me to actually pick up an instrument, which I will always appreciate them for. Their new music is kind of it's been missing, but like up until 2004, like there was nothing like Green Day from like the early 90s, 2004, like there's nothing that I don't like from them. They're so good. Um, but when I got back into guitar in 2014 and 2015, it was because of Devin Townsend. And I ended up teaching my guitar, and I wanted to learn one of his songs, and I saw it was in an open C tuning, which is CG, which is just one large C
C
major
chord.
chord.
Yeah.
So all of the strings, I always like struggled with scales or modes or whatever because it just didn't make sense to like jump from the eighth fret to like the seventh fret on another string, and then like you had to play like the fourth fret, and like it was like hard for me to remember. It felt like math. And then
Damn it.
so upon tuning my guitar to open C, it was like the C is parted, and I was like, oh wow, like this makes sense because now I could play like the same note on a different string. I don't have to change the position so much. Like I could bar the whole guitar with one finger, and like it'll make this sound, and then if I move it up here, make this sound, and then like the dots on the guitar made sense, and I was like, wow, this is great. So I wrote a bunch of songs in it, and I haven't gone back. So I taught myself how to play in open C because there's only a few like shapes or like chords that you really need to know. Um, and as far as like shredding and stuff goes, it's like if I hit the wrong note, if I just move up or down a fret, it'll probably be in key. So it makes it really easy to just kind of like it's guitar with training wheels, but like it makes it really easy for me to write, and it's become like this sort of, I guess, like a tool. Like I love playing guitar, I really do. I enjoy it, but at the end of the day, for me, it's a tool, and I really kind of only pick it up when I need to.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, I'm a self-taught dude. Drums, I was not self-taught on. I got lessons for drums, but guitar wise and like writing music and stuff like that, like I just kind of try and then fail and then just keep trying.
Hell yeah. Well, that's how to do it. Do you play? Is it what's your main instrument then? Or is there a so I consider guitar to be kind of an escape sometimes because it's my main instrument. I really don't that in production. I'm not very. I really can't play keyboard. I can probably get away with like some bass if you give me a week. But where was I going with this? Yeah, I mean, do you feel like you really express yourself in your production, or is maybe like just through a different instrument?
I feel like I definitely like if I was to consider production an instrument, that would be my main instrument.
Yeah,
But
I consider it an instrument. So
yeah, I think that like I definitely find more creativity and like ability to express myself through production. Um, but as far as a writing tool, like it's like over the past few years, it's definitely changed from being like a drum focused thing to now being a guitar focused thing. Um, and but yeah, I definitely think that it's cool that you think of it that way because I haven't thought about it at all that way. It's like, well, I really like enjoy like how much I can create like to paint a picture with production as opposed to like the actual notes or the instruments themselves, you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, part of part of my journey with production has been trying to familiarize myself with it as an instrument because that's I feel like if I can express myself through guitar as an instrument, I want to express myself through production as a means as well.
Hmm. I think though too, it's like in regards to music and stuff like that. Like I find too that I just really um, like the words that I speak are typically the most cathartic. Um, when I a few years ago, I had this really like I had a dilemma where I was like, I'm just writing about stuff that happened to me, and I'm like retelling this story, and it's not helping me at all. Um, so what I did was I kind of just made a point to speak about things that I wanted to continue talking about.
Oh.
Um, and that I wanted to like just kind of be present with, as opposed to like saying something, because I was like, it was specifically about this one song, and I was talking about an ex of mine, and then she was a very toxic person, and it had a really profound impact on me as a person. Um, and I was like, well, going back and like holding on to this isn't helping me at all. So, but what if I like stop doing that and then instead just kind of focus on things that I actually want wanted to talk about, instead of like being dramatic in a sense and like really, like I said, like holding on to this stuff. Because if I don't let it go, like it's gonna keep bothering me and eating me up, and I don't like that.
I mean, you mean
So
like kind of melancholy attitude, like
yeah, like it was very melancholy and like just kind of like woe is me. I'm like I don't like that. But I guess like the written word I feel like is a lot more like written word in conjunction with the production is the thing that I think is my main instrument. Like I guess if I was to consider something to be like the most proficient or like the most like um, the one that I'm most in tune with is those two. Guitar is like a secondary because I write most of the stuff that I write on guitar, but the stuff that I write on guitar doesn't necessarily mean anything until I put words to it.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
And then from putting words on it, I can then like create that atmosphere in the production.
Very cool. Yeah, no. It's funny you were saying at the beginning that you just kind of write in bursts, and I feel like in the exact same way. I'll but I'll write songs kind of in my head with a melody, and then it's funny, I do it a little backwards. Sometimes I'll come up with like some words or a chorus, and a lot of times it just comes right out of nowhere. So I'll like start humming it to myself, I'll write down the lyrics, and then I know I'm going to forget it very soon, so I just like kind of sing it into my phone and record it. And
Mm.
so then I'm like, all right, now I have the melody down. And it's funny because like then it's like that's actually the heart of the song. And I feel like then I'll try and translate it to guitar to start adding all of the other elements that might, enhance that. But then
Mm.
sometimes I do it the other way around where I'm really focused on doing something instrumental. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's I feel like a really common way to write though. I guess like I actually still have to I've been avoiding it, but like I wrote something at like 3 a.m. and I like hummed it into my phone. And I know it's garbage. Like I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm like I know that it's garbage, but I know that it was good because it was like something that came into me in a dream, and I'm like, oh, like this is really cool, but like it's 3 a.m. so you don't know.
Yeah.
But like I'm jealous of the people that really can just like put something out like without thinking like twice about it. They can just play and then they have a song. I wish I could do that. Like people like Andrew Huang or like I wish I could like have the musical output of someone like that. But like music is so like tied to my environment or the things that I experienced. Because I think that musically too, it's like um, we're all like kind of conduits. Like I don't think that a lot of the stuff, because a lot of the stuff, like when you get in the zone, like I'm not there. Like I'm just kind of like just funneling along whatever is there. And like in lieu of not having a lot of new experiences with this year, like my writing has dried up dramatically.
Yeah.
And something like the song you played at the intro, holistic, like that song was something like it was something that has been building for a few months. And eventually it just kind of like popped the cork, and then I was like, okay, now I can write about it. But it took a little while for like to like you know get my legs under me to write. But like when you're in the environment and you're like, so actually I went upstate New York with a friend, and I just kind of wrote it there. I had the idea. It was something that I knew that I wanted to like eventually go through, but I had like brought up my guitar there because I knew I'd get bored. Um, while we were hanging around in like the cabin thing. So, but I just sat down and I played that song, and then I just kind of spit it out, and then that was that, and that was like the entirety of my writing for last year. um, but yeah, I think it's really tied to like environment and experience for me. So like I just tend to not write a lot because things that are new, like when I started playing and started writing, I was like, well, I have to write about this, and then I have to write about this, and then I could do this, and then do this, because it's stuff that I haven't done before. But as I feel like you make more music, it's like, okay, I've been here before. I don't really need to say that again. Um, which I'm also kind of jealous about the same people, like people who can just write the same thing over and over again and then still keep getting plays. Like that, I don't understand. Like I wish I could do that, but like like just pride goes. Like I can't do that.
No, I understand that. I think that your music or my musical creativity really comes with experience. Yeah, you're right. They're really tied to your life experiences. So I feel like if your environment isn't like changing, or if you're not experiencing anything new, your music is probably going to reflect that. And I don't even know if there's like a loophole around it.
Yeah, I really don't. I wish there was. I guess it could be a formula or like formulaic and the amount of money that you get, but it makes me excited to see what comes out in like later this year or stuff that comes out even in 2022 because people are going to be like when people get back into living life, it's going to be I think an explosion of stuff, like maybe a new renaissance almost in terms of music.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think the environment just it really didn't get a chance to foster it this time around. And I mean, one of the things I was excited for actually when lockdown first came out was, oh shit, all these fucking introverted producers are gonna have a bunch of time to just start cooking up these cooking up these beats. Like I am gonna have a blast. And yeah, no, so I guess a lot of like bass tracks, I mean like EDM tracks came out because most people just make that in their basement or something. So, oh goddamn it! I was leading up to something and I don't remember. Oh, so yeah. Now I remember. Sorry, it was super scatterbrain. What's your favorite Guns N' Roses album? Because I'm a huge Guns N' Roses fan.
It's Appetite, man.
Really nice.
It's Appetite. Like that was like I had a really pivotal time around like ages like 12 to 14 because like I said I was into like a lot of the hip hop stuff and like rap and like a lot of like 50 Cent like Eminem and stuff and then like Guns N' Roses kind of came along and I was like, oh, like this is cool, it's like sex, drugs and rock and roll. And because my dad had just fucking bought like Welcome to the Jungle or something like that, like on iTunes, and then that just somehow popped onto my iPod and it was brand new. So I listened to that. I was like, "Oh, this is great!" And then I went on YouTube and I like looked up a bunch of Guns N' Roses stuff, and like that was like the like Appetite. Like nothing to me comes close for Guns than Appetite. Like if there's an album that I had to pick to define them, it would be that one.
I would
Like
agree.
I don't like the Use Your Illusion stuff as much. Like there are good songs on there, but like even like Knocking on Heaven's like that's not even their song.
Yeah, no, it's not.
What about you? Is it also Appetite or?
I want there's it's a close second between that and Use Your Illusions 1. But or just the Use Your Illusions project I think is really interesting, and I'm sure it's been matched, but just having those guys kind of experiment with their sound I thought was really good, but defining them is absolutely Appetite for Destruction. Like I really feel like that's just a killer album, and Axl Rose probably like didn't I don't think he could keep it up. Like I think his ego really got in the way of the band like after that.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's so many egos in that band too.
Yeah.
The only person who like really didn't have an ego I felt like was like was Duff. Almost.
Yeah.
Even like Matt Sorum is pretty egotistical kind of guy. But yeah, I would pick Appetite just hands down. It's my favorite Guns N' Roses album.
I was gonna speaking of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. There was a funny story. So like the first album I ever got was a Green Day. It was American Idiot.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Nice.
and it was the first like thing I owned, I think, because I was like 7 or something. And my mom,
That's funny.
yeah, and my mom, I think she only knew the American Idiot song, so she like went to the store and she was like, yeah, sure. Like I must have been a little older than 7. I must have been maybe 10. But it was still like a really inappropriate album, and my mom was she didn't really know that all the songs are gonna be like that, so she was like she knew I loved the song. She heard me listening to it on the radio, and I would like geek out about it, and then she bought me the album. She like popped it in so that we could listen to it together, and she was like, oh no.
That's funny though, because that's what happened to me. Is with the bullet and the Bible thing is like I think the track 7 is called like Hitching a Ride, and I didn't like again like I didn't know anything about Green Day, but apparently like every single time they play Hitching a Ride, like Billy Joe just kind of like fakes like he jerks off, like he sticks his hand down his pants, like he just has a fun little time, and like my mom was like, nope, we're shutting that shit right off, and I never saw that DVD ever again.
Oh my god!
I listened to the CD a bunch because I had the CD and I had a record player down here, but like, but I just never watched that DVD for more than like a half hour. But it changed my life.
Yeah, that's oh wow, that's a great story.
Well, how old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm 23. How about yourself?
23. Okay, I'm 25. So that came out in 2004. I think Bullet in the Bible came out when it was like maybe 2005. So like I think I was 10 when that happened. So yeah, if you're like that's cool. That's funny that we're like kind of coming from the same thing there.
Yeah, no,
like I love telling that story. Just like because that's the shit that got me into music. It was probably also my mom saying no, you can't do that. Don't watch this. Now I'm just like metal, but yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, no, my mom was at a real crossroads. She was like, well, I just bought him this album and he loves it, but god damn it. Like
they're saying fucking it.
Yeah. She's like shit, just mumbling under her breath. Yeah, no, that is really interesting. It's having I always find that I really mesh well with people who have the similar musical experiences to me, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So very.
Like, I will say you're the first person I've met that I've had like that similar of a music experience to me.
That's dope.
Like that's actually uncanny.
I actually now I really want to look at that concert because I've never seen it and I don't think I've ever heard a live recording of theirs. So now I'm curious.
Oh, it's a great show. The editing on it was really good too. I've gone back and I've watched it now that I'm older, but it was really, really well done. I really enjoy live records now, almost more than I enjoy studio stuff. Just as far as like a listening experience goes, I really love listening to live stuff because of that album. And when I went into going back to like my 12 to 14 age. But like because I liked live albums so much, I bought it was a Guns N' Roses live album. I don't remember the name of it. It might have just been like GNR Live or something like that.
Yeah.
And I bought a bunch of music from that. Like I had the Appetite stuff. Like I had a few songs off of that. But then I bought the GNR Live thing. It was like maybe like $30 or something like that. I listened to that a lot. I listened to Slipknot. Like again, it's a good way I feel like to listen or like meet a new artist, you know?
Yeah.
To see how they are live as opposed to like a studio setting. Because the live it's just like they're just kind of doing their thing, and then a studio setting you have time to think about it and craft it. And I liked, I guess, like the primalness of the live stuff. And
I feel that, yeah.
Which is ironic now, considering that I love production. But yeah, those. I went from like Bullet in the Bible is such a fucking influence on me as a little guy that it's like now I'm 25, gonna be 26 later this year, and it's like I still like it's still like impacting my day-to-day life. Like I want to be a touring musician. I want to do all that stuff. And now I feel like I'm kind of at this stage where like it could be a reality to me if I play my cards right with this next release. So like, you know, whenever I could play England to 100,000 people, like just sign me up. I'll be there. It doesn't matter if I'm sick or it doesn't matter if I'm dead. I'll be there.
I was that brings me to, I mean, if you got time, I want to talk about like what you just said about like playing your cards right with your next release. Like I think the music business is something that I'm still really adapting to, and I feel like it's always about connections okay, never mind. I don't want to phrase it like that. I always felt like making a song and releasing a song were just so disconnected that like making a song is one thing, and then like strategically placing it out so that you get like an audience and like kind of marketing it. That's just kind of like a really different angle of music that I think is really intimidating. What do you think?
I think it's definitely intimidating. I've been thinking recently too. A lot of why I'm not writing as well is I'm trying to capitalize on like the strategicness and like get it listened to, and like my focus isn't necessarily on music at the moment, and like that's okay. So I'm focusing on like videos, or I'm focusing on like artwork, or like getting to know, or like networking with people. Because a lot of I find that like it is who you know if you don't have the option to play large shows, um, because especially like in this kind of place that we're in, I feel like it's a good as an opportunity as any for anybody to come out, and release stuff. I've seen things that are like, so I have looked on like the like radio, like Sirius XM and stuff like that. Like just looking at the bands that they played, and like there are people that maybe have like 1,000 or 5,000 followers, and it's like, or they're getting national airplay. I'm like, well, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like it's the barrier has come down a bit, and I think, but it definitely is a different kind of art. If you are trying to get that stuff out, um, which is like traditionally you would go to a label, and then the label would help you out with that. But as we've gotten into this more modern era of things, that's like you don't necessarily need a record label, because you can do all those things yourself. But I think the resources that people have, because it does cost money, besides like the viralness of it, because that's such a by chance and also heavily manipulated thing. Um, it's hard to get your music into people's ears that will appreciate it. And
Yeah, I
I
agree.
didn't do a ton of marketing for, like really at all, for the last record that I did, because I'm like, it's so like kind of like far fetched to people, because it's different, that like I felt that it would be so hard to like market it, but also like kind of have to explain it at the same time. Like, guys, I do feel that I have to explain that record still, um, now having released it. But it's like it's such a, I don't know how to describe it necessarily, but I feel like you have to kind of be able to take a step back to your music, and like kind of go, not hands off, but be able to like look at it like, um through the ears of someone else. So because that's how best you'll be able to market it. And like for me, like traditionally, it's been really hard to do that, because I usually write everything by myself, and it doesn't go to, if it's not myself, then it's like I bring it to my bandmates or something like that. But with the last record that I did, like I did that entirely myself. And like the record that we're working on now, it's like now I have different ears on it, and it's easier for me to like kind of know what it is, and like because there are like 6 people working on it at any given point in time, then it's like it's easier for me to take that step back and then focus on like the strategicness of it. But I think a lot of it's just too, it's like who you know as well. Like if you're kind of even if you're just trying to book a show, if you know the people that put on the shows, you can hit them up and be like, oh hey, can you, we got on this bill, like, maybe they cut you a deal on like how many tickets you have to sell or something like that, and then
Yeah.
you get on that show. Um, but without shows going on, it's hard to do it, man.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I really think that COVID probably even lowered the barrier to entry. Like it's never been lower, and I find that really
Yeah,
interesting. Um, because it's like I don't think that record labels are pointless, but it's like people are getting their music through a variety of different ways these days. It's not
hmm
like, I mean, people aren't even listening to the radio as much anymore. In my opinion, I think like Spotify really took a huge chunk of people's audio, people's ears, and then
absolutely.
they just, and I love it. I'm guilty of this, but then you just get spoon fed by Discover Weekly, and I I love it.
Yeah, I think like Spotify, like it's so interesting. Like, yeah, the barrier to entry is so low right now. And I think I agree that it's like probably the lowest that it's been maybe ever, like since like the 50s or the 60s, where like A&R people would just kind of come to a show and they'd be like, "Hey, you want to get a contract?" And then you're like, "Yeah, um, we're gonna make you famous." But then now it's like, um, it's similarly low, but instead of having that A&R guy come around, it's like you can kind of do it for yourself because there's all these resources that are available to you as an individual that traditionally have been available to
Like studios.
just record labels or
Yeah.
executives or something like that. Whereas like they will do the talking for you, but now it's like not like you weren't capable of doing that talking, but like now you're recognized that you're able to do the talking anyway. So a lot of people just tend to not go with a label or tend to like maybe independently release or something like that. Um, like I know that I myself I'm looking to do like focus a lot on like publicity, and like a lot of like the like marketing campaigns and like videos and like things that um traditionally are things that you want to do, but like without the support of a label. So it's like for me, it's been important to try and find the people that value what I do, that are willing to help, and that still know people. Because I don't know anybody. So if it's like almost an art in and of itself to find people that support you in that manner. So I'm hoping that like the people that I'm going to go with are because they seem to me uh, like they give a shit, and that matters.
Yeah, it does.
As someone who's a local musician, and the fact that they do give a shit even in this the climate that we're at, because maybe they are looking for work. I don't know, but I think that it's an art to find those types of people, and I think that it's an art to find those type of people in anything that you do, regardless of that it's music. But you know, yeah, just kind of looking for the connections, the good ones.
Yeah, yeah. And the cool thing about I think actually getting your foot in the door of the music industry is like you start meeting people, you start becoming friends with people, and these people are like probably like beneficial to your music career, but you're also just, I think the best benefits of being a musician are having are making those friends. Maybe you want to say friends in high places, but I just kind of enjoyed the fact that I can hit up somebody I met at a club or while I was working lights who's a mastering engineer and ask him for some input, and it's
Mhm.
and then he'll tell me about a show that's going on that he's doing the production for, or like the stage production, and then we'll hang out and he'll introduce me to the owner of the club, and it's just like these are people that I just want to talk to because I'm interested in their lives, not even like I just
Mhm.
want to use them to get on a show on or something like that.
Yeah, I think that that's a good point too. It's a lot of people, especially locally, are in it to use it for to their advantage, and I think that a lot of people are sick of that, which is why it's hard to like, I guess, get a footing in.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I've totally yeah. That's probably why it
but
is
like,
difficult.
yeah, but I feel like people like you, they'll understand your intentions. Like if you are like someone who's in there to just because you want to get to know them, as opposed to like, hey, you can do this for me. Um, it's a different energy and a different vibe, and I think people pick up on that really easily.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, especially in the club scene, I feel like everyone's got their guard up a lot of the time too. Um, but
It's so easy to get burned.
yeah, really easy. One of the last guys I was talking to, his name was Haven Woods. We were kind of talking about how we don't like a lot of the promoters that are out there right now, maybe in the EDM scene. How do you feel about like do you run into any promoters or do you work with any?
Um, I did some work with a promotion company called Liquid Shadows Entertainment, and that was like it was like hit or miss. I managed to meet a lot of people through that, um, but like I said, like there's a lot of people who will burn you. Um, there's I would mostly just kind of work with like booking agents or people that were like representing like talent buyers or something like that. So like I didn't necessarily have bad relationships with anybody. Um, Also, I'm a pretty easy dude to get along with, so like, I don't feel like anyone had any like bad blood or anything after me.
Yeah.
But it was the thing that I find most difficult about promoters is that they have this kind of idea in their head about that would be like the best thing, or like, oh, you don't really fit here, or they kind of will say like, no, you're good, you fit. Um, and then you kind of get thrown onto the show, and like for me, like I play metal, you know, like I'm not like opposed to playing metal shows like at all, but like the last show that we played, like that weekend that I was telling you that was very chaotic, that show was actually our worst show, not necessarily because of the performance that we played, because we played decently well, but like just the reception that we got from people was terrible because we were playing a death metal show, and
Uh,
I don't do a lot of death metal. Like I have songs that are like that could be considered pretty death metal-y,
well,
but like
you got that
there's a
screamo
lot of
aspect in a lot of your songs, but
yeah. But the thing that stunk about it was that the promoter had the idea in his head. It's like, oh no, you guys scream, you guys can be pretty heavy, so maybe just sell like this many tickets, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we sold a good amount of tickets. We didn't sell nearly enough because, again, playing with the death metal bands, like people aren't into them. So like, and if they're already into, they're probably going. So it was like when they have like that type of idea in their head, where it's like, oh, you guys are this, and it perpetuates that, like for me, because I do a lot of different things. Like I played acoustic shows with like, you know, jam bands, and then I've also played death metal shows, you know.
yeah,
So it's hard to, like, for me, define what I do, and then promoters kind of had this idea of like what you do, even though you might be better suited to do like one thing or the other as opposed to doing. But what stung for me is that I've played a lot of shows where like it definitely hasn't been worth it.
yeah,
Just that, like the sentiment is just play as many shows as you can, but you should also play shows that make sense. And I think that it's predatory when you kind of are playing these shows and the people that are there, like they're not interested in you. You don't really scratch the niche as so much, but you've made money for the promoter, you
right.
know. Um, so like that's the things that I tend to not like about promoters. I mean, they're doing their job. It's not like it's like awful. And I've been on the other end, so like I understand. But you know, for someone like me, where I do a lot of stuff and I do a lot of different things, it's been hard for me to fit into uh, something for a promoter, because I always feel like too, it's like um, I feel like my music it's I guess transcendent over like local music, because I do a lot of different stuff, you know. So like it's able to sit above, or not necessarily fit into the same mold. I think that that's what I mean. Not necessarily transcendent as in it's like so much better, but like just it doesn't necessarily fit into like the same mold. You know, a lot of here is like there's a lot of metalcore. Like I don't really do metalcore. I don't do anything really that kind of fits that mold. But I play a lot of those shows.
Right.
So and it's difficult for uh, me to go into that and be like, well, I feel like I would probably play better on a prog show, but then like the prog show, you know, there are fans that legitimately do prog. I'm like, well, this isn't my fan base now either. So it's like, well, how do I, you know, and this is also why I tried to like step into booking and promoting as well. It's like to find things that fit me better, you know? And
Yeah. I feel like it's
yeah,
difficult if you're like still figuring out what your music is or your style to work with somebody who's just trying to put you in a little box.
yeah. Yeah,
And
that's the thing. I didn't like that I would constantly get put into like this kind of box where I would like get lumped in by like these 3 or 4 bands, and then we'd all kind of get offered the same shows, and you like show up like, oh, what's up, bud? And you see the same ones every single time. Like it's cool, but it's also like I'd rather like see what I could do if I was offered something different, you know. But then they kind of have this idea in their head of like, oh no, this is what you are, so this is what you end up for.
So I have a question that just kind of came to me when you were talking about like shows being worth it, because so I'm more of a DJ now than I was a performer. I guess back in high school and beginning of college, I just started getting much more into DJing. And one of the things that I have to do as a DJ that I don't like it all the time, but it really has pushed me, so I do like it, is like adapt to the crowd, because you get booked in all different types of places, and not everybody is like. So I always thought that the way that I look at DJs, and the reason that I guess was really into a lot of new music, was because I thought the DJ introduces you to new music, and that is the cool part about it. That's not a lot of the times what people want. People want, music that they already know, and that was kind of a real reality check to me. But something that I actually see in some shows that I've worked at, even with like more popular artists or EDM producers, they sometimes, when they're big enough or they only have original music, they don't really adapt to the crowd as much, or they won't really go out of their way to play a song that is just really not part of their original set, and they're always trying to let their song play out, that they already that they've spent so much time making, and then they'll just do like one transition into another, and I just think that do you think adapting to your crowd is something that you should explore, like as an original artist? Like if you're playing for a deathcore show or something like that, you'd be like, okay, this isn't really getting received that well. Who wants to, to point to your drummer and be like, can you play something at, really fast?
Yeah, I mean, like, for like that's kind of what I do, though. That's in fact, I actually think that I probably should try, trying to like again like hone down what it is that I am, so that way I don't have to do the adapting anymore.
Right.
Because traditionally I've adapted, so like it's people come up to you, it's like, well, I'm not sure what it is, like because I've played acoustic shows and it's like, well, I have all this nice pretty music, and then I go to a death metal show and it's like, oh, you guys are playing too, but you guys have this, so it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So I think that it's valuable to an extent. I think that if you are someone who's really trying to get your original music across, that it's like you should try and own that as much as you can, because if you're and maybe that's where I've faltered, where it's like I didn't own it enough, where I tried to change what I did to fit into this kind of society, or like if it is a deathcore show, it's like I don't have anything that resembles deathcore.
Right.
Even though I have heavy music, it's not deathcore. And someone who's a deathcore fan will go up and be like, dude, this is not. I'm not gonna listen to this.
Right.
So, and like that was the thing that kind of plagued us. And that last show that we played was just like it was really, really like, and like I don't do that, like I scream, but I scream like on pitch. Like I have a lot of melody and like orchestration in my songs, and like that's not necessarily what people are going for. They go in there to go ape shit, and like I don't have really songs that do that, So even though I tried to adapt that, it's like I probably just would have been better suited if I just played my original thing. It's at the same time, it's like if I even if it's not the greatest reaction, it's not that's far off from the reaction that I got.
Right.
So maybe I should have just played what I was comfortable doing, or stuff that I really wanted to get across, as opposed to like trying to like I wrote like a new song for that, like to try and get like the band that we played with was Ingested, and it's like the last 10 seconds of life, and then a band from Denmark called Cabal, and they're all just like brutally heavy guys, breakdowns and breakdowns and breakdowns, and I'm like, I just don't write with that. I don't write breakdowns in that manner. Like I write bridges. I don't write. I don't do that.
I think I really made a connection that wasn't there, because with DJs you're just kind of working with music that is already produced and you kind of improvise on the fly. But I feel like, yeah, arranging something to either on the spot is probably a lot more difficult when you're working with a band.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
that it's necessarily like that far off either. I think that what might be the case for like the dudes that are continually trying to put like make their original music stand out is like the ego of it as well. Where like a DJ, like if he's playing his own music, you know, and the next one is like Katy Perry, like uh, I want the people in this audience to listen to what I've got because then the next thing I know they're gonna like this instead. So like let me try and play this out to see if I can get them to like it, you know. And
Right.
for me, it's performing. It's like I get that time slot. Like I have the full reign to do whatever I want in that time slot. Um, so I can play songs that you know I can adapt to, or I can play like my best songs, or I could play just like the exact opposite. Um, but like at the end of the day, like I have to sell tickets and I need to keep people's interest. So if I've already sold those tickets and these people are at the show, that they're subjected to me for the next 30 or 45 minutes. So
Yeah, you
maybe
don't get
yeah,
a lot of time either.
it's a little maybe I should have not adapted my sound so much and tried to like hone what I had.
Yeah, you're right. Like own it, own it. I feel that a lot. It's a yeah. It was really an open ended question.
Mm.
Well, let's. I don't. I guess I don't really feel like I don't have anything going on, so we can keep talking if you like. But I mean, anything come up in your mind that you want to talk about, maybe, or maybe talk about a song that you're excited for on the new album?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm free basically to like a quarter after 3, so that's like another 45 minutes I have really. So I have work at in like an hour and a half.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm game to talk about the new record. I'm game to talk about like some of your stuff that you got going on. I know this is like I'm a guest on your podcast, but like this is the first conversation that we've had like as an actual conversation.
Yeah.
So it's cool to get to know you and like go over like maybe the work that we did or like if you had things that you questions about like the last record that I did, like the for the video and stuff like that. Because I know like I feel like I felt like I drove you crazy because I'm like, oh no, it's not. It has to be like this, and it has to be like this.
No, dude. I really kind of appreciated the fact that you're pushing me because I'm working on this pretty unconventional software and that I stumbled upon, and it's really strange. It's not linear like After Effects or like I don't use any of that. It was just me getting really familiar with it, and the video I did for you was really outside of my normal range because like we did that beach transition and I thought it turned out like fairly well, but it was like so different than what I was normally used to doing.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I really liked how just like reactive it was. I know like the program like it gave you a bunch of issues and you were moving too, but like I liked how like awesome it is to like see the just like the music kind of like come to life. Um, because there's like a visual aspect to it as opposed to like an audio one. And like for the last record, it was such like it was such a visual record for me, like just in terms of like my mind's eye or like where I wanted things to go, and like um, you know having that like reactive uh visual to go along with it, it like really kind of capitalized on that, and it was like something I had it bookmarked for ages, believe it or not, before I actually like just hit you up and bought it. But I was something that I've been like I was thinking about, and like it was part of my process to like think about just visually, like in terms of like the fractals or like the uh, to have that be represented on a visual level as well. Because I had always wanted to do a visual component to it, but I was like, well, I can't do like something crazy high budget. That just clearly don't make this much money. But what you did for me was absolutely. I love watching that thing, and it's so cool to like just kind of like even put it off on the side, like if I'm listening to it, and then like when it gets to like a climactic point, you go over, it's like, oh no, it is like it looks like it's exploding. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
uh, And, like, that's what I wanted. So it was really I'm really grateful that for me that you took the time out to like really give a shit. And because that again, that's all I'm looking for is just someone to give a shit, you know?
Yeah, no, whenever I pick up a customer, I kind of make I have to make a decision real quick on whether or not I like the music, and it was pretty, or not that that would impact how much effort I put in it, but I heard yours and I was like, this can be really different. And I was like, let's do it.
Mm.
So I was really excited to work on yours because it was a throwback to a lot of the metal that I used to listen to. I mean I just don't listen as much metal anymore. I'm into a bunch of wubs and space sounds. Like but yeah, that the video was fun to work on. I actually watched it. I have a playlist on this channel maybe of all the music videos that I've put out with other people, and I was watching. It's just so funny because I'll watch it and I'll be like, oh, I could have changed that. Oh, I could have changed that. I was like, I could have, but if I mean if you ever want another project like that, I'd be happy to work with you. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Um but I think I like too about it is like the record was such I just started working with somebody who was like he's asking me to do like basically what that record was, but on like on a micro scale. Like if you consider like the hour to be like a macro, like this is like now 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes or so of music, and I have to like do what I do on top of his music within the 3 minutes. So I was thinking about when he asked me about it, so I was trying to like kind of relate what he was sending me, and I'm like, oh well, just I used kind of your like your fractals thing for like to see like in my mind's eye, like oh like here's like the spaces of this, and here's like, and it was easy for me to relate that. So I think that it's what you do is really wicked, man, and yeah, I'm looking forward to possibly doing it again.
Sick. And thank you. I really appreciate that. I mean, if you're curious, there's like I'm much more of a musical artist. Like I have an ear, I guess, and I really like to use it. And I'm not a very good, uh, like I can't draw very well. And just visually, I haven't always been that attuned to art. And it was funny because I had this acid trip once where I started seeing like just this shape in my brain, in my mind, just like react and change with the music I was listening to, and I was like, mother, like that was, and then I was like, that was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. I can't, and I was just thinking about it for like days and turned into like a year, and I was like, and I was. I had this one very specific like visual that I guess I still have yet to create because it's really 3D and intricate, but
Mm.
the visuals that I was seeing at all the shows that I was going to, they just weren't as intricate as I wanted them to be. They were like clearly a lot of times they'll just put something like really trippy on the screen, and then like and then the song changes, and maybe somebody in the background is like it's called VJing, like video DJing. So they'll like change it and they'll
Yeah.
like do a transition, but it was never like reactive, and it's always limited to like how the video DJ can actually like put effects on and actually make the transitions and flash the screen. So it's all like somebody else working with a bunch of visuals that kind of limits the level that you can take it to. And then eventually I was just itching for something more, and I found this software called Magic Visuals, and I think since I found it like 3 years ago, it started blowing up. No, not that. I still don't know anybody that knows about it, but I know that they have been making more money. But yeah, that just kind of got me into what I was doing, and I put it on Fiverr, and I think the ad is still really shit. So I'm just glad that we found each other.
Yeah, as I mean, I was looking for something that was similar to what you were doing because wanted to get like I said, like a visual done. I'm like, well, like it just kind of feels empty uh if I just have someone edit a video over the top of it. And like the closest I actually came to like my mind's eye was the video that I did for Embrace Holy Infinity, which like has all like the stock footage of like nature or like animals or something like that, and like that was the closest that I came to it. And then like the other component of it would be something that you do, um, where like it would kind of like flash back and forth between like this something that's like I guess like the emotional content of it, and then like the actual like auditory um feedback that you get. It's like I want my music to be received a certain way, and I think I succeeded in that to an extent on the Great Calm. So I've shown it to people who like don't even really know what I do, and they listen to it. It's like, wow, I just felt like I lived that. Like that's kind of what I'm going for. But like in my mind's eye, it's like, well, it's like it's all these natures and things, and it's like this like parts of it are very overwhelming, and like there's things that are like there's a lot of colors and things that are going on here, and it's like um in lieu of knowing how to take my brain and put it on a platter, like it's definitely one of the closest things that I found.
Yeah, there. I a lot of. I used to think I had synesthesia, but and I don't think I do, but I do think of music as like very colorful as well. Like it does. Um, I guess yeah. I guess ever since that day I saw that visual component, it kind of turned on this part of my brain where it really it different sounds mean different things to me, and I think visually is a or having a visual component to your music can really bring out just this whole other half and whole other world that is apparently there.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that I have synesthesia. I know my drummer has synesthesia, but I just think that I have very strong associations with like colors or visuals that like when I listen to like a C, right? Or actually I'll give like an F. Like an F major chord to me sounds like a sun. It sounds something that's very bright, and like a C is something that's more not earthy, but like um just kind of grounded in that way. And I guess that it is also a function of like the tuning that I play in. That I'm used to like C being like a resolution. Um, or as like time signatures go, it's like a 4/4 is a square, and then like 6/4 or like 6/8 is a circle. And then like when you get into like the more jagged stuff, like it become like triangles or things. And like I just associate like if I'm thinking about a sun, right? I literally have a song on the next record called Sun, which is it's uh it's like a C minor thing, and like it's in 6/8, and it's kind of like this slow, I guess, like you know like the different types of sounds where like there's like one that's like kind of burning out, and like there's like a red, it's like a red sun with like a yellowish orange corona.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think of when I think about that song, and it sounds like that. So I think that it's if not synesthesia, it's at least like just really, really strong associations. And like even on the next record too, like there's a lot of like different colors that it's like, well, I associate this type of sound with red, and like this one with like a light blue, and this one with purple, and like purple is kind of like so you have this one song on the next record that's called Manifest. And that one has been decidedly purple for me for like 3 or 4 years, and I could never really pinpoint what the purple was. And I realized that the purple was something that it was something uh, emotional, but also like it like cheated on the aggressiveness, because like a dark blue for me is very like melancholy and not sad, but like that introverted type of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
aloneness. And then red is kind of like aggressive, and I found that Manifest is kind of like petered on both, but never was aggressive and was never something that was like I'm sad.
Yeah, yeah, no, I, it's cool hearing somebody else describe that, because I have like different objects and colors that I associate it to, but the difference is, I think with synesthesia is like, isn't there like a consistent color pattern that a lot of people end up seeing, which is,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know that from what Ian's told me, and it's like when he listens to like there's like a certain like I guess like color palette, I guess, where it's like, oh, like this will be like like purple or red, and then like this one, like it will like kind of go between the things, and then like this next one will be like a bunch of different colors, and then like when you listen to this band, it's like, oh, it's black, and then like I think for people with synesthesia, and I think it is consistent, and I think that's like they get the similar vibes from different people or whatever because they has the same colors. But yeah, I think that it's but I think that I know he also sees shapes as well too.
Interesting.
Like just like abstract shapes or like things that like you were talking about. It's like the when you were high.
Yeah.
On the like you were tripping that it was like it's a bunch of different shapes. They're abstract. You can't really get them yet.
Right.
I think that's what happens in synesthesia too.
Huh. That's well that's I was just thinking like would I want it? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't want it. I feel like it would be too much for me.
Yeah, I've heard
it would be nice to like be able to kind of like I just want to keep seeing red for this song, you know, and then like you get out of it and like it sounds like the world's burning. But I think that it's definitely something that if I was just a listener to music, I feel like it would be really, really nice to have because then I feel like I could connect more with it. But with my own music, because I already feel a real strong connection to it, so I feel like I wouldn't want it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it'd be putting a different angle on things that you've already like created and thought about, which wouldn't be terrible. I just can't imagine like seeing because I know I don't think it really stops at music, right? I think like you hear like a truck speeding by you and like that is associated with a certain like pattern or color, which is like I don't know, like how do you drive? Like
I don't know, I feel like I'd be so distracted.
I'd be like, oh, that's cool, yeah, let me check that out.
Like do you see it? Like is it like in front of you or is it like is it like is it like a mood or like I don't know how to connect to that. And I feel like if it was something that I just kind of like saw in front of me, like if it was on like a screen, then I'd be like, oh wow, I don't want that at all.
Yeah, I think and I saw this one documentary or I don't know what it was where my friend told me about it, and it was like this one lady saw like flashes of white if you snapped in front of her. So like I don't know if that's true, but or if that's the actual experience or if that's something else, but I think that would just be cool for be cool for 5 minutes.
And after that, it's like, oh my god, stop snapping. Yeah. But then like my question is like, does it then pertain to things that sound like snapping? Like if I would like click something, does that like also trigger something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like if I were to like just click my mouse, like does that sound like something? Or like does that like make you flash? I don't know. I don't know if I can handle that.
Do you do you listen to any EDM music at all?
No, I don't think I've listened to much electronic stuff since like maybe Skrillex.
Oh, true. Yeah, that was my starting point.
How old I am, but
well,
there's like, I don't really electronic because I've been a fan of rock music for my entire life basically. Like the first I remember listening to like Linkin Park like back when like 2003 2002 whenever they had their record out and it was played on the radio all the time.
Yeah,
because I would always ask my mom to play like the rock radio because the other one was boring. So rock has always been something that I've just kind of like stayed with, and it's been a staple. And like listening to EDM, like I appreciate EDM a ton, and it looks like a ton of fun, like going to raves and like festivals and stuff like that. But I know that it's like it's not something that's really like my wheelhouse.
Yeah, well, I find it interesting that we do have. I personally I feel like we have a lot of similar music background. Like we both like a lot of the same bands earlier on, and or at least like I like Slipknot, and it looks like we're both familiar with like Dream Theater, and not that maybe that was your favorite band, but Guns N' Roses, Green Day, and I think we were probably the same age when we were listening to that. But it's funny because like I heard Skrillex and I was like, oh, I like this. I don't want to like this. And I feel like it was just a rabbit hole from there for me. But sometimes I do, or like, so I listen to all my EDM on SoundCloud. That's like where I find all the new hot shit. And then on Spotify, I actually am totally removed from EDM. Like sometimes it'll throw an EDM song at me, and I'm like, no, fuck you. You are late to the party. Like this is like it's an EDM song I already know because I found it 3 years ago on SoundCloud, and it's like I just use Spotify to listen to all the other like genres of music that uh I really enjoy. And it shifts a lot. So like some like it'll give me classical music, it'll give me jazz, like oldies, and then yeah, I've just been a little bit more disconnected from metal and rock music recently, even those are totally my roots.
Mm. I think I as far as rabbit holes go, I think what maybe aside the thing that changed my like Green Day and like Slipknot, because Slipknot was the thing that made me want to play drums. Um, because like I listened to that's like Before I Forget or something like that. Like
Before I
and
forget
I was
that.
yeah, and I was like, but the drums on it were so cool. Like it had such a cool beat, and it was like I wanted to play that. And I think that was the thing that got me down the rabbit hole for metal and stuff like that. It's like, oh, now I'm playing it, so like I'm gonna listen to more stuff like this as opposed to like maybe if I didn't go down that, maybe I would have stuck with like stuff that was more like classic stuff or like stuff that was a little bit more mainstream. And then I found my way into like prog stuff, and then like 'cause I really like Avenged Sevenfold, and like Avenged Sevenfold is pretty prog for as big as they are.
Yeah.
They're stupidly like they have like the Dream Theatery type of stuff that goes on there, but it's also really kind of punk, and like I enjoy the punk stuff, and like um but drums were the thing that got me into really like, to metal, like because it was where I could because metal is so loud and rock is so loud and like bombastic that like playing drums and like because I would play along to whatever was going on in my headphones. So, but like the feeling of like hitting a drum with the music that's there, it's like, well, that's super powerful. Even though it's literally just drums to everyone else, like I have the headphones on, so I hear how it is, and like I feel like I'm like on top of the world by doing this stuff. And it was just like going back to like the bullet in the Bible thing. It's like I feel like I'm playing in front of 10,000 people right now,
Yeah.
even though I'm not. And like now I'm like as a musician, like 10 years down the road, it's like I'm still trying to do that.
Hell
But
yeah.
now there's different things for me to do. I have music that I play, I have guitars that I own, and singing to do. So like, um, but drums are the things that really got me down the rock hole and like have never gotten me uh, out.
Yeah, well, it's probably a great rabbit hole to be down. I want to say on so my mom tried to get me into drums when I was younger, but I'm not very physically coordinated. I'm pretty clumsy, and I think maybe that's always been my excuse, but I didn't really learn it. Didn't really speak to me, and I've struggled really hard with like very basic patterns. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it was just like the whole physical coordination. There was some hump I didn't get over, but God, I wish I had stuck with it because more so than like piano or any other melodic instrument that I could have learned, getting into EDM is all about percussion. It's like
Mm.
all just programming. Like I mean, melodies are important, but the percussion is really the driving force. And like I'm just not familiar with certain patterns. I've had to like learn a lot about it. And also, I mean, you can program the drums, and I'm not sitting here like at a drum set like struggling, but it's I really learning and probably knowing different rhythmic patterns and having an arsenal of that. Just I was very lacking in that category.
Yeah, I think that drums. I was an athlete growing up. So I always was fairly well coordinated, and like even like today, like pick like if I go to like my drummer's house and play drums, like I could play drums like just fine. It's like riding a bike, to me. But it was always a challenge to like learn different patterns and stuff like that. There used to be into like stuff like August Burns Red as well too. It's like that had such cool like breakdowns, and I wanted to move my feet like that. And like the first song that I really wanted to learn how to play on drums was People Equal Shit, and I learned how to do that. But they've always been something that was like it just felt because even with guitar now, sometimes I'm just like, well, this doesn't really feel right, like because you play like for volume's sake, so that I don't play into an amp, like I play like into my computer and then like put my headphones on, like I can just jam out by myself, but it doesn't feel right,
Right.
Drums were always something that's like you felt that like you had the response as soon as you hit it, and it made a lot of noise, and you felt like um, satisfying to me in that manner, and like I as far as melody and stuff goes too, it's like I'm really a basic guy. Like I have one finger a lot of my piano stuff, and then retrack it with a different key on a different finger, and like it, it but drums are always something that like I'm glad I knew, because if I didn't know that, like even just for realism too, like as far as programming stuff goes, is that like I do have a lot of really good ideas, and like but people that I know that don't play drums that also do metal, like they write stuff that doesn't really work, but like I don't have to think about where my hands will go, because I'll know, like, because I played drums before, like this is maybe where my hands will land up, or like that I know that if I went from this transition to this next thing, like it's difficult to do that on the kick drums, or like I can't put extra hits on the snare here because like I have to hit cymbals at some point, um, so it makes music a little bit more intuitive, that I have that percussive element kind of out of the way, and I don't have to learn percussion. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, no, my thoughts exactly, really. There's there's an element to it. Well, I was an athlete in high school too, but that somehow didn't get me physically cored. I was always like tripping over my own feet during cross country, and like it was just really bad. But I guess I did it to stay in shape or something. Um, but yeah, no, I like, yeah, that basically just speaks to, I really wish that drums were in my arsenal at some point, because I'm bad at rhythm, like, too. So like I'll play guitar, and I guess I need to practice with a metronome more, but I swing so hard unintentionally. So I think
And
working.
it's done wonders for my right hand too. Like I also, because I track myself a ton as well. That it's like, but my timing has been, I haven't had to work on it a lot, because I'm like I just know where the beat is, um, and that took a lot of like when you play drums, it's like, oh, like I'm not sure if like I'm on time here or like whatever, and like you kind of swing back and forth, and like I feel like I got a ton of that out of the way by just learning how to play to a metronome,
Hell yeah.
and like it made life so easy for tracking the record. Like I
You
did one take, like I did three one takes of this one song. It's really fast, like 7 minutes long. I did three takes of it, and that was like one for the left, one for the right, and then one for there's like a really wacky part, like kind of like 2/3 in the way, that I just retracked to make sure that that was perfect. But like I like one tracked those, and if I didn't one track, if I would play drums, I definitely would not have been able to one track that.
Yeah, yeah. My you can hear it in my music with my melodies. I'll keep in some recordings, and I'm just late, and I rush some of a lot of my like keyboard or piano notes. I'm late, and there's so much swing, but I keep a lot of the notes in there sometimes, because I'm just like, I think this is just like I program the drums, and they are driving the song, and I'm like, well, I did play it this way. I'm gonna see how this goes. Um, it's my bad timing has definitely influenced my style, I guess you could say.
Mm. Yeah, I'm pretty into. I know that you're not supposed to quantize everything, but like I like the sound of quantized stuff a lot. Um, and like that's absolutely like I as far like Slipknot too. Like Slipknot is something like you think of like something that's ahead of the beat, like that's Slipknot. But like I love to think of stuff like behind the beat, and like um, being able to get behind the beat, you have to be like on it. And then like I don't know, it just contributes to the size and stuff like that. But like if it's quantized, like you can always get behind the beat and like I don't know, I enjoyed that aspect to it, and that definitely like drumming. Like I wish like drummers would be on time all the time, but they tend to swing too. But like
Yeah, no, I think guitar players are just notoriously bad at not wanting to play with a metronome.
yeah, man, it's bad. And bass players are worse too. Which I always find that it's ironic because bass you have to lock in with the production, the percussion. Because if you don't, then it just kind of sounds like it's all over the place.
So I think we're gonna close out soon, homie. I've had a great time. Like the 2 hours have really flown by.
Yeah, honestly.
I wanna. Is there another private track that you have maybe that you want to play? I know you were worried about copyright. I am kind of not, but at the same time, if you get demonetized, apparently the algorithm doesn't like you, and then you don't get put in in front of anybody. So apparently, I need to worry about copyright, and I like really don't want to. I just want to play like the people's music that I interview.
Yeah. I will send you. I'll send it in the Discord right now. I'll send you something. Well, pick a color and the rainbow.
Hey, I like it. I'm gonna go with red.
Go with red. All right. Well, that works because this is this is a new mix. So I will give you that. 1 second. It's not perfect, but it is one of the mixes that we got back.
Hell yeah. Also, how often do you use Discord, homie?
I use it a fair amount. I'm always on here to play Call of Duty a lot.
Oh,
so like dope. If like I'll be on here like hanging with my friends or something like that, what we play or like sometimes like I'll just be on. I don't typically like hang in servers really, but like if I'll just hang on calls with people.
Yeah. Well, I if so the icantproduce podcast is kind of spawned out of my icantproduce project. Right now we're mainly on a Discord server, and it's about music production. There's mostly probably people that like EDM there, but we also have like this really successful punk or like metal producer actually. So it's really open to anybody who's into production. Like I don't want it to just be about EDM. So if you don't, here's an invitation. I'm gonna sauce it to you on Discord.
All right, awesome.
Yeah. But all right. So this song that you just sent me was Surrender. Hell yeah. Okay. Well, dude, I just want to say like thank you. I've like I said, great conversation and like this. I've been trying to get this podcast rolling, and so far, I've just had great guests on, and like everyone has been really enthusiastic. And I just want to say I love your attitude, dude, and I really like your music. I think I really want to see you do more with it, and I'm excited for your album release. So definitely hit me up when that comes out because I need to listen to more metal, and that's what you're putting out there.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I think you'll like this song that I just sent you anyway. But yeah, this has been a great conversation, and thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it actually, and I feel like I should do more podcasts. I was thinking about doing one for my band on our Twitch, so then maybe we could hang out again. Let's do that. But I wanted to rent that out maybe over the summer when people get stuff going.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was dope. I had a really good time.
Great. I mean, great stuff, bro. Yeah, maybe we'll do it again if the cards align or the stars align. That's what I was looking for. But yeah, I don't know if we had anybody watching it live, but to anybody who's watching it in the future, thank you for making it this far. And I'm going to play Monolith Zero's new song or unreleased song, Surrender. So thanks again, bro. And I'm gonna disconnect from the call actually.
Thank you, man.
Hey, no problem, bro. Thank you. Peace.
Later.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.